Hey, what's up everyone, David here, and today we're back with another Nocturne video. The hype train is rolling strong. Nocturne is coming out in less than a month now. People are excited, and as I mentioned before, I keep hearing people saying Nocturne will be my first mainline game. Nocturne is my first time trying a Japanese RPG. Nocturne is the first game that I'm gonna play after playing Persona 5 or anything. All of that to say, I think there's lots of newcomers that are going to try mainline SMT for the first time. And today, I'm here for those of you who want to learn 5 tips for newcomers, for beginners, of how to succeed, how to have an enjoyable experience playing Shin Megami Tensei 3 Nocturne HD Remastered once it comes out by the end of the month. I have 5 things that I wanted to mention. Obviously, this could be an hour-long video and there's a ton of other things that could also help you guys out if you're new to the series. So, I'm gonna give my 5 tips and tricks that you guys should use for Nocturne. And I know I have a lot of long-time fans here on the channel that are subscribed. If you guys could drop a comment down in the comment sections below and let them newcomers know what else should they take into consideration and what other tips they should consider before trying out Nocturne HD. So let's jump right into it. Disclaimer, I wanted to get this video out before Nocturne comes out, before the embargo for the review comes out. So you are watching Japanese footage of the game. The gameplay that you will see on screen is from the Japanese version of the game because I am not allowed to show the English version yet, unfortunately, but obviously the tips are still valid. Now, before we jump right into it, if you guys are new to my channel, I cover everything when it comes to Atlas, Shin Megami Tensei, and Persona, so if you're into that kind of stuff, please consider subscribing and don't forget to ring the little bell icon to get notified every single time that I upload. Alright, let's jump right in with number 1. The first thing that I highly suggest you guys do. In Nocturne, there is a mechanic called Megatamas, and those Megatamas you can ingest and they change your weaknesses, they also change your resistance in battles, and they give you access to other spells. Whenever you level up, you gain new spells depending on what Megatamas you have in you at the moment of leveling up. Now, my tip here is don't hesitate to swap Megatamas. Don't hesitate to try out a ton of them. Don't hesitate to change Megatamas before a certain boss. You could be using the same Megatama for like 5 hours and everything's gonna go super well, but then you enter a battle and boom, you get destroyed because you have the wrong one. So don't hesitate to swap them. Don't hesitate to try out new Megatamas. Plus, they help you customize and fully build your demi-fiend, your main character, as much as you want to. So definitely don't hesitate, swap them out, change them all, go ahead and try them all if necessary. Megatamas, you can find them in dungeons, you can find them pretty much everywhere in the game. Collect them and change them. That's definitely going to help you out a ton. Number two is actually going to be a tip for the combat system in Nocturne. Nocturne is known to be a pretty challenging game, but to be honest, if you know what you're doing, the game's not that hard. It really isn't. So my tip is, if you don't know, Shin Megami Tensei Nocturne uses the best combat system of all time in an RPG, in my opinion. That's right, Nocturne uses the press turn combat system. So when you look at a combat screen from the game, you can see on the top right corner of your screen, you have press turn icons, and those icons, you have one for each characters, okay? So when you do a move with one of your characters, you lose an icon. Now, if you attack an enemy and you exploit one of their weakness, for example, you fight a Pixie and the Pixie is weak to electric attacks. That means if you use Zeo on the Pixie, you will hit her weakness if your move hits. And if it hits, your press turn icon is going to start flashing on screen. And that means you have another half turn to use, which means that you'll still be at 3 full icons and 1 flashing icon. So that's right. You can actually, if you can exploit the weakness with all your 4 press turn icons, that means you can move 8 times in the same turn. So needless to say that exploiting weaknesses is a must in Nocturne. You must exploit enemy weaknesses. It is extremely important. Don't sleep on that. You need to exploit weaknesses. Now, on the other hand, if an enemy blocks your attack or if you miss an attack, you lose 2 press turns. So weaknesses, super important. And once again, you need to swap out your Megatamas to change your resistance, because if the Megatamas that you have on you right now gives you a weakness to ice attacks and you fight a boss which uses Ice's move, you're gonna get destroyed. While on the other hand, if you have a Megatama that resists or void ice attacks, this boss is going to be super easy. So again, exploit weaknesses, very important. Make sure you wear the right Magatama before you jump into bosses. My third tip for newcomers for Nocturne is actually a good old classic. Something that's very important in all the games, in all the Persona games, in all the mainline games, all the SMT spinoffs. This is a must. I can't stress that enough. Every single time that I hear someone, hey, I'm struggling with this boss. Okay, how are you fighting? They are not using buffs and debuffs. Guys, buffs and debuffs in those games are like magic. They're gonna help you succeed so easily. You're gonna bury Matador alive if you use buff and debuffs. It is the key to success. Kunda spells are gonna decrease the stats of your enemy, while Kunda spells are going to raise your stats. So spam debuffs on your enemies, spam buffs on your team, and you're gonna succeed. Simple tip, but most people don't use it, and come on, it's extremely important. It's as important, if not more, than exploit weaknesses in my opinion, so don't sleep on that. Now this fourth tip is for Nocturne directly. Now in Nocturne, you have your main story, you have your dungeons and all of that you can walk through, but there is also the Amala Labyrinth that is actually a facultative dungeon, so you don't have to complete the Amala Labyrinth except if you want the true ending. So most people, they sleep on the Labyrinth. They don't go there too much, but I highly recommend you guys spend time in the Labyrinth for multiple reasons. First of all, great dungeon, very fun to explore, and you get access to a ton of optional boss fights that are actually very fun to complete. They're gonna give you a lot of XP and they're gonna give you a lot of items. So the Amala Labyrinth, as soon as it's available to you guys, as soon as you unlock new Kalpas, I highly recommend you go in the Labyrinth, explore, take your time, and of course, get items, get experience, enjoy your playthrough. It's just gonna make it easier. You can consider the Amala Labyrinth as side content, but important side content, I would say. So instead of grinding, some people sometimes they grind before a boss. That's boring. Go and explore the Amala Labyrinth. You're gonna have fun, you're gonna get items, and you'll level up. So definitely a good place to explore whenever you play Nocturne. My fifth pick, if possible, I suggest you go into Nocturne blind. That's right. Try to stay spoilers free. I know it's a 2004 game, so you may be spoiled already, and if that's the case, you're still gonna have a good experience with Nocturne. But this story in Nocturne is fantastic, and I think you'll get a better experience by experiencing it blind, if possible. What else do I mean by blind is don't use a guide. Take your sweet time making your way through Nocturne. It is a very good game, and it's clear that the developers intended for you to take your time, explore, speak with all the characters, speak with all the spirits. They're gonna help you walk through the game. I feel like too many people have a guide always open on their screen at all times, looking at where to go and all of that. They don't speak to any characters, they don't speak to the spirits and all. You're not gonna get the best experience if you do that, in my opinion. It is perfectly fine, in my opinion, to open up a guide when you're stuck. It's been 2 hours, you don't know where to go. You open up a guide and you look where to go. That's perfectly fine. Don't be ashamed of doing that. I know some elitists are gonna say, oh, you're a noob and you're not gonna get a good experience, but don't listen to them. There's no shame in using a guide. I think, though, if you have a guide always opened in your whole playthrough, you always watch the guide, you don't talk to anyone, and you rush through the game, you're not going to enjoy it as much. I think Nocturne is a game that benefits from playing it yourself, exploring, and trying to find where to go. It's crazy how easy it is to get through Nocturne when you take your time, speak with all the characters, and it just puts you in the mood. Nocturne is such a good experience that I think if you try to go in blind, if you try to go in without a guide, you're gonna have a better experience. I can't block you from going and watching guides. You can absolutely do so, but please try to do it only when you're struggling. It's for you that I'm saying that. I think you're gonna have a better experience. So those were my 5 tips for newcomers of Shin Megami Tensei. Tips for Nocturne, more precisely. If I want to summarize everything, don't be scared of swapping Magatamas. Don't be scared of using a ton of them. Exploit weaknesses of your enemies, very important. Buffs and debuffs is basically the key to success in those games. Explore the Amala Labyrinth whenever it's possible. Great dungeons, spend time in it. And of course, go in blind, man. Take your time, speak to spirits, take your sweet time. If you respect all of those tips, you're gonna have a blast with Nocturne. Fantastic game. I cannot wait to drop my coverage. I have a lot of videos actually coming for you guys with Nocturne, so if you're a newcomer, don't be scared. Nocturne is not as hard as people make it out to be. Plus, you watch this video, so you now have a good idea of what to do to have a good experience with the game. So, first time playing, have a good one, guys. I hope you're gonna enjoy your time with Nocturne. I know I'm having a blast playing through Nocturne again in 2021. It's been super fun, so cannot wait for more coverage. Again, if you're new to the channel, please consider subscribing. If you're already subscribed, make sure that you ring the little bell icon. And if you like the video, if I helped you jumping into Nocturne, drop a like. It means a lot. I appreciate that. And thank you all so much for watching. I appreciate it. Have a good one. Take care, y'all. Bye.